Let's get into the games, and it was a wet night at the MCG last night. The Melbourne Football Club came to play, though. The Bombers were disappointing. It rained pretty much the whole game, and there was a big difference between the two sides and their hard edges. We'll find out a little bit later from their coach, but it was a big night for the Melbourne Football Club with no Max Gawn.
Yeah, it was, Brownie, and Draper sort of had his way with them early against Petty, but Van Rooyen went in and made a huge impact on ball. So to lose hit-outs convincingly, I think it was by 15, but to win stoppage, to win scores from stoppage. All they talk about Melbourne is contest and defence, and they've unearthed some really exciting young players, Lloydy.
Yeah, I thought he coached really well, Simon Goodwin, one of his best performances of the year, and they smashed the Bombers at clearance, so it's a really good talking point. I know you spoke about it last night on your AFL program, Kane, where they won hit-outs the Bombers but lost clearance. The night before, Darcy Cameron won all the hit-outs, but they lost the clearance. So what do hit-outs really mean in this game? But I just thought they were harder and tougher around the ball. Cozzy Pickett, I love what he's doing. I think he's one of the more important players in the game. Just on importance, I think he's a top 10 player in the game, what he did. So smashed the Bombers around clearance. Zach Merritt was nullified to an extent through this game, and if you nullify him, what else have they got through that midfield, off the back of that? So that was an issue for them last night. So that was one aspect. And then it was the out-the-back goals. So why was it so difficult for the Bombers to score, where they were just kicking long and high to players, when Melbourne orchestrated this really well? So they don't have that star forward, that big power forward, but this just happened time and time again. Is it Melsham and the leadership that he's shown over the last couple of weeks getting back into the team? So that was a real issue, and then it became the turnover game. So even Zach Merritt turning balls over like this, and on the way back, Essendon were all at sea. Jack Viney lowering the eyes, and this last one, Brownie, Nick Martin, another turnover from the Bombers, straight back down the other end into players out the back. So I thought it was a masterclass. I don't think the Bombers played the conditions well enough. Melbourne played the conditions perfectly and got their moves and matchups right throughout the night.
Yeah, Bombers coach Brad Scott referred to those conditions, Lloydy, as you're about to hear, and just lamented the entire performance.
Yeah, we got beaten by what we knew, which, it's the first time I've said that in a long time. So, poor execution, didn't adapt to the conditions well early in the first quarter, even though the game was pretty much going okay for us, but conceded some really soft, poor goals.
Kane, they've had a good season to this point, but the spectre of what happened last year where they fell away dramatically, it still hangs over this club until they're able to win matches like last night.
Yeah, there's no doubt, until they probably win a final. Now, that's about the level that I see them at, is if they can win a final, that is a successful year that they've had. I never really thought they were a genuine premiership threat. They're out of the top four now. It's close. That can change week to week, but big game once again. Feels like they're all big against Adelaide on Friday night, big stage. You think they're going to be far too good for Adelaide next week, and then their season is back on track. But they are searching for consistency for individuals and as a side.
It was backs against the wall for the Demons last night with no Max Gawn. We just heard Brad Scott talk about soft goals. A couple of edits where I thought the Demons were harder in this game. And let's have a look at Nick Cox here. He pushes the ball. They push the ball forward. Nick Cox comes in, and rather than really having Rivers there, he sort of went soft at the ball. This is the different way to do it. This is Stephen May against Jake Stringer, pushes him down and then lets him know about it. This is only a couple of seconds later where the ball pops out again, and this is hard stuff from the Demons. So they really go hard at the ball, take the ball away, and then these are the soft goals on the back of the Demons' hard work. And it just felt like there was one side that adapted to the wet conditions a little bit better, and that was the Demons last night.
Did you think Cozzy's a top 10 player? That's how highly you rate him.
In importance, yeah, to his team. I think at Melbourne he's becoming the most important player at Melbourne when he plays well to when he doesn't. And so there will be players who statistically he's probably the 100th, 150th best player. But in terms of importance for every touch that he has, I think he's right there.
He's as similar as I've seen to Cyril in some of the things he does. And we saw that last one where he turns out of that contest, gets the ball inside 50, Ed Langdon ends up kicking the goal. But his score involvements, his potency when he goes into the midfield, he's as good as there is in the competition. As you said, the difference he makes to the Melbourne Football Club.
And Lloydy, given we regularly talk about Melbourne's disappointments, in finals particularly, no Gawn, obviously no Petrarca, no Brayshaw all season, and a less than 100% Clayton Oliver for the entire year, we do need to acknowledge what Simon Goodwin does to keep this team up at times.
Yeah, and they've been aggressive with their ball movement. I thought it was West Coast last week, but it was the Bombers last night. So if they keep moving the ball like that, they're more of a chance.
The one thing I love with them is that we kept knocking their forward line, and they've built throughout the season a forward line that is genuinely delivering. In the last 2 weeks, it's been fantastic. That's it.
Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. It was a wet MCG last night, but the Bombers and the Dees played out a very good game considering the conditions, but I thought Melbourne handled those conditions a lot better. Bailey, Fridge kicked 3. Disco kicked 3 himself. Melksham, good to see him back. Nick Martin was the Bombers' best, went forward late and kicked 4. Ridley had 29, Shield 28. Martin, as I said, and Ed Langdon on the wing was brilliant, and Rivers showing that Christian Petrarca's absence has been good for him.
That scoreboard flatters the Dons. There's a lot of junk time late goals where, but for most of the game they
got
just
out to 7 goals.
It did get out to 7 goals, and that was a true margin in this game. But Lever and May, when they play together, they're so good defensively. That's always going to be good for Melbourne because that's their strength. It's just their forward of centre stuff, which was far more impressive over the last couple of weeks. But they're good, Lever and May. They always are. But are you concerned about the Bombers' forward line? I am. Peter Wright subbed out.
Tell me more about that. What's your biggest worry?
Well, I just don't think there's any individual in form, and I'm not sure they're gelling. So I don't think Langford's having the season he had. Caddy's still a young kid. Jake Stringer's inconsistent. Peter Wright is too inconsistent in his effort. And Archie Perkins is nowhere near the player that he was. So I think as individuals and as a collective, I think that's their biggest worry.
Do you think Peter Wright, since that clash that saw him out of the competition for 4 weeks, I think it was, I haven't seen him throw himself at a ball since then. Could have that scarred him? Because I watched him last night, time and time again, didn't make contest. Draper went forward time and time again. He was the one leading out where it should have been Peter Wright. He was subbed out for Hine. It was a pretty poor night for him.
Yeah, and he'd be 105, 6 kilos, and he gets pushed under the ball like he's 96 kilos. So he's got to man up, Peter Wright. Otherwise, I think he'll find himself in the VFL pretty soon.
I'll tell you what, I love purple. I love celebrating the good things in footy. And we've got Cozzy Pickett here, who I just love how he goes about it. His score involvements, his ability to win the contest. We talked about it earlier in the show. And we talked about how Melbourne are a different side when Cozzy Pickett's at his best. They're missing Max Gawn, Petrarca. Oliver stepped up in the middle, but it was this man that just lit the spark. And he was brilliant last night. And he makes Melbourne just a completely different footy side, Lloydy.
100th game,
Yeah,
too.
I think the thing for him, he's starting to string the good performances together in a row. So his first half against West Coast last week was as good a football as you've seen from any individual this year. So then to bank the performances week on week has probably been his challenge. Now, it is a challenging position to play as a small forward, and you do drift in and out. That's why I love that he's gone to centre bounce and had a big impact, as has this man, Trent Rivers. Like, he's building some sort of season. He's almost saved that midfield somewhat. So he's gone from half-back inside, and his ability to do everything well, really. Like, he's a clearance beast. He can get outside. He uses the footy well. He's tough. He's defensively minded. And once again, after being their best last week against West Coast, he was their best again last night with his 29. He had 8 clearances, 4 score involvement. It's been a very effective move.
Just goes to show, Kane, doesn't it? When opportunities present themselves, people can elevate their own performances, and it's happening with a couple of kids as well, outside of what Rivers is doing, and it's been a real feature of what they've been able to do. Caleb Windsor, we know, was a high draft pick and is going to be in the conversation for the rising star, given the ineligibility of Sam Reid and also Harley Reid and Sam Darcy. But you've got other players there. Disco Turner, Daniel Turner, kicking 3 goals. Here is Windsor on screen now. Gave him a lot of vibrancy last night. Colton Tholstrop is another player starting to make a really nice career for himself. And then you've also got McVie and Van Rooyen, who are not old players at all.
Kano, you think a pass mark for the Bombers this year is to win a final?
I think so. From where they've come from, outside of the 8 last year, to win a final, I think that would be, a reasonable performance this year.
Are they safe to make the 8?
No, I don't reckon they're safe. No.
Well, I look at the last month, Brownie, and they've lost to Carlton, Geelong and Melbourne and beaten Collingwood. And Collingwood looked like a great win a week ago, but it doesn't look so good right now. So they've got to win another big game in the run home. Otherwise, they will miss out.
Votes?
The votes yesterday, I thought Rivers, the man we just spoke of, was best man on the ground. Alongside Pickett, Judd McVie was sensational behind the ball, and Nick Martin was the Bombers' best. I thought Mackay's second half was huge also for the Bombers.